Today in gun control, February 16th, 2024. I'm Greg Bishop. It's Bishop on Air, broadcasting each and every weekday morning around this time, Central Time, 7:40ish. But we, of course, segment these clips out each and every day as well. And let's get right on into it. Of course, one thing that has grown this channel a lot is your interest in what's happening with firearms, the Second Amendment, lawsuits against laws. We've been tracking the state of Illinois' gun and magazine ban and haven't seen any updated totals for those who are registering firearms. Just going to do a quick refresh here on the Illinois State Police website, and I don't see where they have actually provided an update. Yep, still no update. Last numbers were updated on the 31st. So, with that, you've got, the ongoing litigation in the Southern District of Illinois. February 28th, they're going to have a hearing. We yesterday delved into Thomas Magg's response to the state's defense of the gun and magazine ban on Fifth Amendment arguments. So not a lot of action since then. So we'll continue to track what happens in the Southern District of Illinois. But you also have several gun challenges being brought up to the U.S. Supreme Court from the state of Illinois and Maryland. So it's still status quo there. We'll watch what happens in all of that. But the national conversation, of course, ongoing. And you've got Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, yesterday saying what you would think is obviously an agenda item for some on the left to have more gun control. Here's Karine Jean-Pierre. And we'll get this pulled up here and make sure that it is unmuted and rocking and rolling and go.
We need to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, require safe storage of guns, pass a national red flag law, enact universal background checks, and invest in proven solutions that reduce violence.
So
we need to ban...
Karine Jean-Pierre laying out what the White House's agenda is, wanting to, quote, ban assault weapons, but obviously got to think about these terms. And are they terms of advocates on one side of the issue versus others? We even the term gun violence is very much a divisive term because it's not the gun that's committing the violence; it's a person that's committing the violence. So it's violent crime with a firearm, and how you can actually characterize that. She wants to make sure that Americans know the White House and the Biden administration where they stand. And 1, 2, 3, go. Happy Friday, everybody. Getting this lined up for you, making sure that we can hear it again. Let's hear what you had to say. And nothing.
And high-capacity magazines, require safe storage of guns, pass a national red flag law, enact universal background checks, and invest in proven solutions that reduce violence. So
obviously, you've got the question of how much violence there's been. And one particular post from Gun Facts lays out that the primary reason for purely statistical basis is street gang activity as to the number of homicides by firearms. Gun Facts on X says that using street gang demographic data from the National Gang Center, we estimated that as much as 85% of gun homicides are street gang related or nexus, meaning close to street gang related. It is reflected in the charts using the aforementioned demographic profiles, and it goes in to show firearm homicides by race, age, and urbanization. This is just for 2016. But you can kind of see the charts here, and as far as the ages of people involved in this type of violence, where it's happening, in particular, large central metro areas are seeing a lot of it. You've also got some small metro areas seeing, a fair amount with, various other metropolitan areas. And so you can kind of see the way that some are researching this, looking at the true cause of increased numbers of homicides by guns, and it seems to be gang violence, and gang violence like on the streets of Chicago. where a mass shooting happens regularly. And the definition of a mass shooting, I think, is either 3 or more or 4 or more being hit with firearms. So clearly, when you hear some of these statistics and you hear people say, oh, mass shootings happen all the time, and then they only highlight where there's chaos around a mass shooting, say at a parade, either at Highland Park here in Illinois in 2022, or this past February 14th in Kansas City. So why don't they look at what the root causes of the violent crime in Chicago or in these urban areas? And we'll actually touch on some of that with Brandon Johnson in Chicago, the mayor, getting rid of the ShotSpotter technology later on this year, and that being, obviously all focused on Chicago violence and how to track, monitor, and go after Chicago violence. Meanwhile, elsewhere across the country, and this again, just reviewing things happening in the space of the Second Amendment, you've got the New Mexico Shooting Sports Association saying that New Mexico's legislative session is now over. What they passed was a 7-day waiting period and polling place restrictions. Both have New Mexico concealed carry with permit holder exceptions. You also did not pass a semi-automatic ban, an under 21 ban, a red flag expansion, constitutional changes, gun industry liability, and a gun and ammo tax. So those things did not pass in New Mexico. We've seen some of the attempts here in Illinois for things like the semi-auto ban. That passed. The under 21 ban, I believe, is law in Illinois. Red flag expansion, we've had a certain level of expansion. They want to go further to require police in Illinois to take firearms from people who have red flags raised about them. Right now, if they have a red flag, they can give it to anybody else who's eligible to have a firearm, but some want to make it to where police are the ones that have to take those firearms. Gun industry liability, we have that, and it's being challenged in courts. And gun and ammo taxes, Cook County has that, and that's being challenged in courts. So interesting to see some of these agenda items in New Mexico not passing during their legislative session. But that also has the New Mexico Shooting Sports Association looking at what the governor there is doing as the governor molds a special session to tackle public safety priorities. Governor's already looking at that special session since the, quote, gun control agenda was largely shut down during regular session. So that's what's happening in New Mexico. Here's an interesting story from Bearing Arms out of Colorado. They are apparently looking for a ballot initiative to restore gun rights to pot users in Colorado. And there's actually a federal lawsuit to this effect, and this really centrals around what's considered unlawful gun possession. Is it somebody who's a felon? Is it somebody who's served their time and their debt to society? Should they get their gun rights back? What about a non-violent user of cannabis? If they've never been, found guilty of a violent crime, or found guilty of a violent crime while having a gun and while, carrying around a bunch of pot, if they're a non-violent cannabis user, should they have a Second Amendment right? So again, that's an interesting question. Apparently, Colorado is looking to address that with a ballot initiative. So these are just some of the things that are happening across the country when it comes to the gun control conversation. And hopefully you guys are just a little bit more informed than you were yesterday on where things are headed here in the United States when it comes to the Second Amendment. All right, of course, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, follow along. You can find me anywhere. Just search Bishop on Air. Again, Bishop on Air, all one word. Go to bishoponair.com where you can find other ways to contact me and a variety of other things. So, all right, stay tuned. Much more coming up here with Bishop on Air.